Alright, what's up YouTube? So I wanted to do some middleweight videos. Okay, I wanted to get a few out of the way so we can move on. Daniel Jacobs, now that he lost a fight, where does he go from here? Okay, what does he do? I saw some of the press conference, post-fight press conference after the loss. And you know, he said some things. He said some things about being weight drained, possibly being weight drained a little bit, which could be true. But look, the problem I have with guys that suggest maybe it's time for them to move up and everything, when you're doing well, you're never gonna say that. It's not like when you knocked out Peter Quillin, there was any suggestion that you should move up in weight. You know, when you beat Deverenchenko, you know, a fight that was pretty close. You dropped them early, and you know, you beat them in a fight that most people wasn't making any kind of argument that you won or whatever. You know, when you have those performances, and some of these fights are recent performances, when you do well against a Gennady Golovkin in a fight where a lot of people think you actually won that fight. All right, so when you have those performances and then you lose to Canelo, now you're suggesting maybe it's time for you to move up. I mean, you are a big guy at 160. You are a big guy at the weight. So maybe you should move up. And you know what? If that's the case, move up. Move up. But when you lose a fight, I really don't want to hear that after you lose a fight when you've been doing so well. You know, you've had a great career. You took some losses or whatever, but you fought a lot of top guys at 160, okay? You're a career middleweight, and if it's time to move up, it's time to move up. You know, I mean, you're not gonna have that size advantage that you had down at 160 if you go up to 168, because 168 are a lot of guys that should be fighting at light heavyweight that are fighting down at 160. I mean 168. So me personally, you know, I gave it a couple of days to think about it because I wasn't happy with the performance. But you know, me thinking about it now, Danny Jacobs hasn't fought someone that displayed really good defense since the Dmitry Pirog fight. And Pirog he brought a different level of aggression and pressure to Danny Jacobs. I mean, it wasn't like Canelo, where Canelo was coming forward, but he wasn't throwing many punches. All right, he was coming forward. He was in Danny Jacobs' space, but he wasn't throwing that many punches. Whereas Pirog was throwing punches from all different types of angles. It was a much more difficult fight. And I know that was early in Danny's career, and you could bring up maybe cancer, maybe had some influence on that, which is all possible. I can't say any of this is fact. You know, I don't know. But I watched Danny Jacobs a long time. And even in that fight against Pirog, Danny Jacobs looked like Danny Jacobs. You know, I know it was a younger version of him, not as experienced professionally, but Danny Jacobs was fighting still very similar to the way he fights today. You know, but what I saw in Pirog, what he was doing in that fight that day was different. And I had expressed this in the prediction video. These guys that Danny Jacobs have fought over the years are still not bringing that level of pressure that Pirog fought in that fight. Triple G didn't. Canelo didn't. I just was most impressed. Out of all the people that Danny Jacobs have fought over his career, I was most impressed with Dmitry Pirog. I'm sorry. I was more impressed with him than anybody else, still to this day. Some other fighters did well. I think, you know, like I said, Deverenchenko had some success. Wasn't enough. You know, Selesky recently had a good fight against Jacobs. I mean, out of many of the wins that Jacobs had, I think Selesky probably did the best outside of the people, or one of the best people that fought Jacobs, that they actually lost to Jacobs, but actually put up a good fight. You know, he did. Deverenchenko did, and out of all the other fighters, most of those other fighters either lost or Jacobs lost to. But out of the ones that Jacobs won, I think Selesky and Deverenchenko probably put up the best fights. You know, Deverenchenko had a lot of experience in fighting Jacobs anyway, though. So that was expected. But Pirog, what he was doing in there, he's bringing a defense, he's bringing the angles, he's bringing a volume. He's bringing so many things to Jacobs. Jacobs got knocked out for a reason. And Pirog, I think even Pirog today, if he was still fighting on that level back then, I think he still would beat Daniel Jacobs today. I know that's kind of crazy to say, but I'm just keeping it real, man. I'm keeping it real, you know. Emmanuel Stewart was doing commentary in that fight, and I ride with Stewart. If he's saying it, I believe it, because I know what I'm seeing with my eyes. And if a guy, a legendary trainer like him is saying it, I believe it. You know, I don't think there was no hype behind that guy. I think that guy was really, really good and way ahead of his time. So Danny, what should he do? Well, at 160, there's only one fight left that I really want to see from him. You know, I would like seeing a Demetrius Andre fight. If they were to do it, yes. But I know those guys are friends. They kind of rather not fight each other. I still want to see it, but the demand for it is not that heavy right now, because I want to see Andre fight Triple G. I want him to fight Canelo more than anyone, because he has a title. I want to see Undisputed. But the fight that I still want to see before Jacobs move up to 168, if he is going to move up to 168, is Jermall Charlo. I still want to see that fight. And that's a fight that can be made, you know. I want to see that fight, man. You know, these guys, all that talking and, you know, in the back, and I want to see that fight. You know, I think it's a fight that's tough to call. Jacobs obviously have been in there with the better fighters. Jermall has looked good throughout his whole career, except maybe the Mac Horrible fight, you know, which is his last fight. So I want to see that fight, man. I'm not gonna let that fight go. I still want to see that fight. You know, if Jacobs could fight, and you know, there'll be no IBF rules and anything like that. You don't have to worry about same-day weigh-ins, or somebody's putting you that, you know, making those demands in a contract. Let's do it. You know, but I still want to see that fight before Jacobs decides to make any moves, if that's still available. I know Jermall probably would rather want to get his shot and enforce his mandatory position with the WBC to get Canelo first, so that's understandable. But I still want to see that fight, and I still want to see Andre fight Jermall Charlo too, because there's a lot of bad blood there too. So I want to see these fights still. So Jacobs have a lot of options, you know, and at 168, he should do well at 168. At 168, he doesn't have to worry about being weight drained. You know, you're a big dude, you probably should be fighting there as it is. So I'm cool with that too, all right? So quick vid, not too long. Just wanted to speak on him, and let's keep it moving, all right? Keep it pushing. See you guys later. Peace.